Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. You know, it's times like these that I am extra appreciative that I have this platform here on YouTube where I can speak to my fellow XRP holders because, like, what I have to cover here, it's frankly just shocking evidence that destroys the SEC claims about ETH not being a security. And so I've got a bunch of comments, including some stuff from attorney John Deaton, who, of course, is the attorney seeking to intervene in the SEC versus Ripple case on behalf of over 20,000 XRP holders. And also, so Charles Gasparino, I'm going to have to assume that most of you are aware of who he is at this point. He's a journalist with Fox Business Network, and he's really been doing an incredible job drilling in to the SEC versus Ripple case, getting the facts, and he's by and large come to a lot of the same conclusions that you and I have very quickly because, well, how would you not? That's where the evidence takes you here. But there's been a little bit of controversy, and I just thought I'd chime in with my own personal opinion on this, but some people are not thrilled with a couple of things that he said. Some people are taking a couple of his comments to be in some way, I don't know, maybe supportive of the SEC or something to that effect, but I don't think so at all, and I'll explain why. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who makes YouTube videos on crypto-related topics just as a hobby, though, just for fun. That is all that's going on here, my friends. So to set the table here, what's on your screen right now, it's a couple tweets from Charles Gasparino with Fox Business Network that he put out on September 15th this year, and I covered them when they were fresh, hot off the press, if you will. And this is entirely relevant to what I'm about to cover, so I just want to set the table. I'm going to read these, and then we'll get to the brand spanking new evidence, which really is, frankly, just kind of mind-blowing, but it's amazing the amount of evidence and video clips and comments and this and that and articles that the XRP community has been able to pull up. Comments over the last several years and some cases beyond that. It's really astonishing, and it's so relevant to what's happening in the SEC versus Ripple case. And so here's a tweet from September 15th from Charles Gasparino. It's actually two. I'll just read them back to back though. Breaking. SEC sources tell Fox Business the logic of the agency's case versus Ripple is that the company's infrastructure is still being built out, so XRP, the token which was used to finance the thing, is considered a security. Actually, no, I'm not going to read them back to back. Let me pause there and talk about that. So XRP is a decentralized cryptocurrency, and so it should be entirely separate from that. And then, by the way, this is the first time that I had ever seen this claim, this particular legal claim. And so again, Charles Gasparino saying this is what the SEC told Fox Business. So they got some insiders there. Shouldn't be surprising. The people of Fox Business, of course, it's a major news network. Of course, they've got all sorts of connections. So I buy that this is what the SEC told them. I just hadn't seen this particular argument before. But XRP is a decentralized cryptocurrency that's used for all sorts of different things, and it was created and ready to go, didn't need any modifications before Ripple the company existed. And so if you're just talking about Ripple the company building out its own infrastructure with RippleNet and on-demand liquidity that utilizes that fully production-ready open-source cryptocurrency XRP, like that's a strange claim. Like I hadn't seen that ever claimed anywhere else. So it's contingent upon Ripple fully building out RippleNet and on-demand liquidity? That seems a little bit strange. What's that have to do with the Howey test? Like nothing. And so it was rather bizarre to see that. And then, but here's where it becomes extra relevant, especially with this new evidence I'm about to get to. Just bear with me. I want to make sure everybody knows this, or else it's not going to make a damn bit of sense. And so then Ethereum, Charles Gasparino continues. He writes, Ethereum infrastructure is totally built out and has been for years. Thus, it's clearly a commodity. Hester Peirce argues that all may be the case, but as SEC splits hairs, crypto innovation is being stifled, so what's needed is a safe harbor that pulls back all this enforcement action developing. And so what's this idea of Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation, like all of this being fully built out? Because if anything, it's the exact opposite, or close to it being an opposite to what happens with Ripple versus the Ethereum Foundation, because so the XRP ledger and XRP, it just works. Like, yeah, there are amendments and things are changed here or there, but it's fully functional. It doesn't need improvements. It just does what it does. Whereas if you look at Ethereum, it's been constantly updated since inception, right? Because it's slow. You know all the problems with Ethereum, and I hold Ethereum, by the way. So I'm just to be clear or transparent anyway. I do. I first held Ethereum back in November of 2017. Actually, it's the first cryptocurrency I ever purchased. I purchased that, and I think the second was then Litecoin, and I believe the third was Bitcoin. That's all that was on Coinbase at the time, anyway. But anyway. So this idea, though, like if you're talking about being built out, like you should be looking at the cryptocurrency platform itself. Like, so Ethereum totally built out. Like it seems to be technologically insufficient, and they're trying to fix it, if anything, right? And Ethereum Foundation, what do they have full adoption in the way that they envision Ethereum rather to be adopted? Like I don't really see that either. And so to me, like I buy the argument or the statement here from Charles Gasparino. This is what they're arguing. I just don't think that it's true. And so then that brings us to this. There was a video clip shared by K Cool on Twitter, and I'm going to go ahead and, because I transcribed this thing, I'm going to go ahead and share with you what was said in this video clip, and then I've got a comment from attorney John Deaton here. But you can see in the clip there's Vitalik Buterin on the left, there's Joe Lubin in the center, and then there's somebody, it's just an interviewer who was on the right. So two of the co-founders of Ethereum and ETH sitting right there on stage many, many years ago. And this is absolutely astonishing, especially in light of what Charles Gasparino shared there about the SEC sources that they have. They told Fox Business that it has to do, whether or not it's security, has to do with whether or not the whole thing's built out. Well, check this out. Here's what Joseph Lubin, one of the founders of Ethereum, had to say in this clip. Ethereum 1 you could think of as a prototype. It was an impossible project that got built, and we needed to put out something that we knew wouldn't be scalable. We needed to do that to figure out how to build decentralized applications, figure out the developer tooling and infrastructure that we needed to build them and deploy them. We needed to figure out whether it's possible to build companies around decentralized applications, because a number of years ago, people just thought, it's all code out in the open. The margins would go down to zero. There would be people copying everybody back and forth, and of course that's not true, because there's so much to building a product and a service and a company outside of the actual pure technology. We needed to build a trust foundation and figure out what we could build on top of that. And then this is where the interviewer jumps in and says, you're saying the concept of launching something that doesn't scale. And he's talking about Ethereum, mind you. And Lubin says, yeah, we knew it wasn't going to be scalable for sure. And he's talking about Ethereum. You understand what this means. These guys launched a prototype and had investors pay for that. And they knew it wasn't going to scale, and then they launched it anyway. And then they've been putting Band-Aids on it ever since launch for over half of a decade to this point right now. And so the SEC decided that's the platform that's ready and rare to go. Does that make any sense? Because again, the XRP ledger, it's a pleasure because it just works. It simply just works. Everything, all the other, so how many cryptocurrencies do you see in the news? Oh, so-and-so, mainnet will launch X date, and then 3 years later, it's still going to launch. And, it's scaling. Well, we're working on the scaling issues. Transaction fees, gas fees are high. How frequently do you hear that about just about every other cryptocurrency under the sun? And then XRP, it just works. And then you have Ethereum here, which Joe Lubin admitted in this video clip was just a freaking prototype. It's astonishing, right? And so K Cool, who shared this video clip, wrote the following. John, help me understand what I'm missing. Why is everyone taking this video so lightly? Am I the only one that thinks since this is the linchpin to the case? The guy literally admits on video they knowingly sold an unscalable prototype to investors. WTF? Isn't this checkmate? And attorney John Deaton did read that and did respond. And here's what he wrote. It's great evidence that destroys the SEC enforcement's explanation to Charles Gasparino and Eleanor Terrett. Let me pause. Eleanor Terrett is a journalist and maybe also a producer at Fox Business. What was the other title? Maybe I'll say it here. Yeah, there it is. Journalist and producer. No, stop playing audio. There we go. Oops, sorry, the clip started playing. I don't know why. It just started playing. I didn't click on it. Anyway, so Eleanor Terrett is a producer and journalist. Let me just start that John Deaton tweet over now that Joseph Lubin's voice rudely interrupted. It's great evidence that destroys the SEC enforcement's explanation to Charles Gasparino and Eleanor Terrett as to why Ether got a pass. They stated Ether's infrastructure was completed. We are adding it to Crypto Law's video library. It's why Ether and Joe Lubin should be worried. Yeah, they should be worried, shouldn't they? And I can't help but wonder, like, will there actually be a suit against the guys that founded Ethereum at some point? I'm not predicting it, certainly not. I'm not convinced it's going to happen. It could. It definitely could. But you've got Gary Gensler in charge, and he's very suey, if you know what I mean. He just wants to litigate everyone and everything. And in the crypto space, at least. And so given that it's not William Hinman and it's not Jay Clayton who were financially benefiting from this, it makes you wonder, is something going to change? Maybe. At least they'd be a little bit more consistent. Not that I want them to do that. I don't want them to go after Ether or Ethereum. No. That's not what I want. But at least they'd be a little bit more consistent if they did that. But instead, there's this free pass here. And so then there's the concern within the community, at least by some, about Charles Gasparino and his. Some people are kind of getting at like his motive or changing. Some of it's a little out there for me, but not everything that everyone said. But I just wanted to touch on this at least a little bit. So here's a tweet from Charles Gasparino yesterday. I know the XRP community is frustrated, but we all need a timeout. Just because the SEC charged Ripple doesn't mean there is corruption at the agency. The SEC is a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies do stuff that could be unfair without payoffs, etc. It's the nature of the beast. Okay, so there's certainly some truth to that. Yes, bureaucracies do all sorts of stupid things without payoffs, and things are lopsided. Yeah, so there is truth to that. Now, when you're talking about this specific case, though, it's just I'm going to word it the same way I've been wording it, which is that the optics are horrible. It seems to me there's at a minimum there's not just like a conflict of interest, but there are serious ethical questions at play here, because William Hinman, in his position of power, along with Jay Clayton, they both did things that influenced the crypto markets. That ultimately personally benefited them, and in the case of Hinman, it also benefited his former law firm. Was it Simpson Thatcher? I'm pulling from memory. I think that's the law firm. I could be mistaken, but I think that's it. So benefited them, and then he went back and worked for him again. So at a minimum, like this is unethical behavior. So it comes down to a question of, is it too far to call this corruption? Well, you tell me what you want to call it. The facts are the facts. It is what it is. These guys financially benefited clearly from the market guidance that they offered. They just did. So we can debate what word to put on it. As long as we can all agree on the facts, I don't care if people, like, we can get into the semantics game and you can call it whatever you want. I'm less interested in that as long as we all recognize the actual facts out there. So is it corruption? Is it not? Corruption is a strong word. It could be. It could be. I don't feel like it's insane to say that at a minimum it might be corruption. At a bare minimum, some people feel firmly that it is corruption, and like it certainly looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, I think most people see it. But look, I'm not critiquing Charles Gasparino for saying what he said. He's coming in from an unbiased perspective with a level head, and he's seen what we're seeing. It's more like, that's why, like, to me, it's like I would encourage people within our community to not be put off by this. It's a semantics question, basically. Like, what do you want to call it? As long as we all recognize the facts, you call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter to me as long as we all recognize the facts. That's basically what I'm getting at. And Patty XRP retweeted that from Charles Gasparino and wrote the following. Here comes mainstream media telling us to not believe our eyes. Regardless of motivation, the damage has been done already and continues to go on. XRP is not a security inherently, even if some Ripple sales can be deemed investment contracts. What SEC did was reckless. Yeah, and it's certainly true that regardless of Ripple sales, this or that, XRP itself is not a security. But I don't think so much it's Charles Gasparino telling us not to believe our eyes, because he's acknowledging the facts. I'm going to highlight that in a second. So that's one thing I definitely would, I personally feel different. And I'm all about diversity of thought. So this is not to, call somebody out with the intent of trying to make them look a fool or anything like that. I love diversity of thought here, but I don't think it's the case that he's telling us not to believe our eyes when he clearly is acknowledging that there is some serious evidence that makes the SEC look bad. In fact, it might be in the next tweet here. Well, it's coming up here. Here's a tweet from Charles Gasparino. I'm going to have to assume for the sake of this video that you know what's happened with AMC and GameStop stock. What I have on the screen right now is the current AMC stock market price at $36.99. This is a 12-month chart, so if you go back, it was like a little under $5 a year ago. I saw it as low as I think under $2 at some point, and then it rallied. I'll just assume that you guys know that story. It's outside the scope of this video, so I'm not going to get into it. But the reason I bring that up is because Charles Gasparino mentioned AMC here, and he wrote, "The difference between AMC ape crowd and the XRP community is pretty obvious. The XRP Ripple case has some real meat. Conflicts regarding SEC and potential favoritism that hurt Ripple. Ape attacks against Citadel Securities are devoid of substance, just wild conspiracy theories." And so again, this is literally from yesterday. It's not the case that Charles, being part of the mainstream media, is telling us not to believe our eyes and ears. He's saying go where the evidence is, and he's doing that himself. Clearly, he's doing that. And so then there was this also. Somebody named Crypto Nut wrote the following: "Don't know why Charles Gasparino trying to turn communities against each other? I haven't followed the GameStop fiasco in a while, but it is highly doubtful there wasn't some funny business between Robinhood and Citadel Securities. It's not really conspiracy theory territory." And Charles Gasparino retweeted that and wrote the following: "Answer: I'm all about evidence, and the XRP community simply has better evidence." See, again, he's going to where the facts are. So we can get into the semantics game of what is it reasonable to call so-and-so corruption? Well, again, like I said, as long as we agree on the facts, I'm less concerned about what label individual people want to put on something. And we all acknowledge the facts, including Charles Gasparino, so it's really not that big a deal from my perspective, to be honest with you. And then we've got this. From Charles Gasparino, he tweeted out, "I'm not saying I support the SEC case against Ripple, far from it. People just have to be careful throwing around the corruption label. There's a lot of reasons why bad things happen outside the sphere of corruption and payoffs, etc." And so, look, I can respect that perspective. He thinks that you got to be really careful with putting that word out. Some people don't feel as strongly about that. Fine, I have no problems with that. It's not a big deal. We're all seeing the same stuff here. And then attorney John Deaton retweeted that and wrote the following: "I know many of us have our opinions, but it's in the interest of truth and justice for a journalist to hesitate using or adopting words like corruption. Charles Gasparino and Eleanor Terrett have been on top of this story for less than 2 weeks. At least they're asking the questions." Yeah, well said, John Deaton. I got it. I'm on board with you here. And then XRP community member Frecky tagged me and wrote the following. So shout out to you, Frecky. Thanks for tagging me. I do like what you had to say as well. Coming at the corruption angle, the idea of corruption with the SEC from a different angle. And he wrote, the laws are biased towards the SEC. Laws to protect the SEC from showing documents the court has asked for, discussing how they leverage it all to hide under privileged information. The defendants would never get this privilege. That is corrupt. Yeah, and it's certainly true that the SEC is more protected than Ripple. It's definitely not a level playing field in that regard. But yeah, it is what it is. So hey, perspective well received there, Frecky. I get it. And then somebody also wrote, "Someone has been told to drop it," referencing Charles Gasparino's have been told to drop this covering the story. It says, "Was always going to happen. They don't want anyone talking about it. You've made too much noise." See, that to me goes a little bit too far. Actually, maybe a lot too far. Clearly, Charles Gasparino and Eleanor Terrett are not dropping it. They're proceeding. And to that end, check out this. Charles Gasparino tweeted out the following: "We are not dropping anything. In fact, we are scheduled to have John Deaton on Fox Business for Crypto Friday to discuss Ripple and the XRP community." So there you go. Attorney John Deaton's going to be on Fox Business Network live television on Friday. Can't wait to see that. And no, they're definitely not dropping anything. So don't jump the gun just because somebody says something, that's, not completely hammering the SEC to death. It doesn't mean that they're not like they're not recognizing the same facts that we all see here. I'm just saying, kind of maybe don't jump the gun too much. I understand where he's coming from, right? So I appreciate the work that he's doing, frankly. Like I think he's been doing a fantastic job bringing incredible attention to this. He's got quite the horn to make people hear what's going on, and it's the biggest non-fraud case the SEC has brought against anyone or anything in decades, and finally it's getting some attention, and they're not just going to stop covering it. No, they won't. So I'm thankful. Anyway, you can let me know what you think below, but those are my thoughts on it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say are right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.